around 2009-10, government of India had sanctioned 4 projects, 4 projects in Nagaland. One is from Longleng-Changtonya. The other project is Mon-Tamlu-Merangkong Road. The third one is Phek-Ptutsero Road. And the fourth is Zunheboto-Chakhahama Road. These were 4 projects sanctioned by Government of India. And you need not quote this. This is of the record. But when the work started, we were also so happy that we did not bother. We did not bother to check. There was no check and balance on the construction work. And then here, when the government has sanctioned, Government of India is the executing and financing agency. And state government, National Highway PWD is the implementing agency. So the State Department, PWD State Department had to monitor and supervise the construction of Maytas. But then unfortunately, the state government also did not give any attention and there was total negligence. So when the Maytas started excavating the ground, they cut the steep hills of the earth of the steep hills, and then they started dumping all the excavated soil, debris, rock, soil down the stream side. And then from day one they started doing that. The public protested, saying that this is not proper. And then according to the contractual agreement, they were supposed to identify and designate a dumping area where the excavated soil should be put in that particular designated area, which they did not regard. So once they started doing that, monsoon came and then it turns into a massive avalanche situation. And then that monsoon, the whole land of cultivable and cultivated land below there, especially below the road, it was destroyed. And then that was in the year 2011. And then come 2012, they stopped the work because of escalated price. They escalated the rate and then they sent it to Delhi, but then Government of India said that this is too much, unreasonable. 2-3 times more they escalated their price and they asked for sanction, which government refused to give. So from there, the work stopped in the year 2012. And then from there till today, till last year, actually the work was abandoned. And in the process, Government of India had cancelled the project. So because of that, the matter went up to the High Court, then finally to the Supreme Court. But when it went to the Supreme Court, the Chief Justice also defended the grievances of the people, and then they say that Nagaland doesn't have waterways, airways, railways. Roadway is the only lifeline. How can Government of India, welfare government, deprive the public of the lifeline? So from there, Supreme Court intervened, and then because of that, their work was revived, re-tendered, and now NHIDCL is now allotted the work, and now the work is going on. Now, why I'm saying this is because when Maytas and Gayatris, they rampantly cut the earth, dump everything, and then destroyed the massive land of this area. All the 4 projects, they have the same problem. But then no compensation was given. Initially, they gave nominal compensation. That was also done quietly and without the knowledge of the local people, local authority. They gave nominal compensation. But then now here the picture is, here the crux of the issue is that these thousands of people whose land, property, assets, building, property, everything destroyed, and then in some area the whole zone of the landscape turned into a landslide zone. And because of this public hue and cry, in the year 2017, the State Department ordered and gave a notification to all the affected district administration. Then the district administration with concerned department, local bodies like BCC, GBs and victims, they went and conduct the spot verification. And then the damages caused were quantified. And the rate of compensation to be given to each member was also determined. And then that was submitted. But then till today, not a single penny has come. And then altogether, 120 crores. The State Department has submitted a detailed list of the affected victims, and then 120 crores was submitted, but not a penny is given till today. Now, in between these, Maytas, since their work order was cancelled, they went to the court. In High Court, the Gauhati High Court upheld the petition of the Maytas, saying that their work should be continued. They should be allowed to do the work, and then any payment due to the company should be given. But then Government of India filed a petition review in the High Court. The High Court rejected. Then in the Supreme Court, they filed special leave petition, SPL, challenging the Gauhati High Court. Then in the Supreme Court decided that the Supreme Court upheld the petition of Government of India not to extend the work order of Maytas. So they cancelled the work order of the previous company contractor. And then, but then the Supreme Court, as I have told you, upheld that no, road should be cut. So Government of India was forced to revive, and retender was done, where NHIDCL came into picture. But in between that, since there was a tussle between Maytas and Government of India, now Maytas, they said that we incurred huge loss, so we should be paid 1,212 crores. That claim they submitted to the state government, saying that state government and Government of India should pay them 1,212 crores, 1,212 crores. But then on the other hand, the state government submitted, no, you have damaged this much of destruction, so you have caused this much of destruction and damage, you should pay 120 crores to the victims. So that tussle is going on. But then here the difference between court's intervention and arbitration is, in the Supreme Court, they said that since this is between Government of India and Nagaland and Maytas on the basis of contractual dispute. This is between dispute over contractual agreement, so you settle the matter outside the court in arbitration. So that arbitration is going on between Government of India and Maytas. But then here, we cannot wait for that arbitration. Now the victims, they go and then approach the State Department. Then every time they go, the state government will say that the matter is under arbitration. Let us wait for that. Let us wait for that. But then, having consulted our advocates in High Court, Gauhati High Court, Supreme Court lawyers, we came to know that arbitration has nothing to do with the victim issue. Because arbitration is contractual dispute between the contractor and then the Government of India. And then here, victims are not in the picture. So even if there is a contractual agreement, it will be just between Maytas and Government of India, where the victims will not come into picture. That is what we were advised. So we decided to go to the court. Now, why do we go to the court? We go to the court to ask the court whether the victims are entitled compensation. And as per the law of the land, compensation is given to the damaged victims while doing development work. So if there is no law, then we will not have the right to ask for compensation. But when there is an existing law, then it is for the victim to ask the question the court whether we are entitled that compensation. And if we are entitled, then the court will also decide who should pay us. Now, in a situation like this, when the state government is saying that since the matter is under arbitration, we have to wait for it. But then that is not the legal advice that we got from the lawyers. Because arbitration is something outside the court settlement, and arbitration has no judicial legal force. So because of that apprehension, we have gone to the court. Now, why do the CPO went to the court? Why not the victim themselves? That is also one question. They can go and file writ petition and individually they can go. But then out here, when there are, even in Phek District, there are thousands and thousands of victims whose names are listed in the beneficiaries. Then in the other side, Mokokchung, Longleng, and then Zunheboto, then Kohima also from 0 point to Seze, Kohima District is also involved. So all this put together, there will be more than 10,000. How do 10,000 people go to the court? And some of these poor farmers, they cannot afford even 100, 200 to go to the court. And to expect thousands and thousands of people to go to the court is impossible, next to impossible. That is one reason. Then second reason is, since 2011 till 2019, they were patiently waiting for compensation which never came. Then in 2009, when NHI this year came to cut the road, then the Maytas victims, they came up and they said, no, unless that Maytas damage compensation is given to us, we will not allow the road to be constructed by the new company. So their roadblock. Everything came to a halt. Then it is in that particular situation that the administration requested the CPO to intervene and pacify the public so that the new company will resume the work. So because of that, CPO had to participate in this. And then while doing so, the CPO constituted a committee where we are member. Then we went and approached the victims and we pacified them, saying that this time compensation, NHI this year compensation has come, but only for the uncut portion. Uncut portion is only 30%, especially in Phek District. Then 70% of the road were cut by Maytas, and they didn't get compensation. So 70% victims, if they block, then the road will never come to reality. So we had to intervene, and then we pacified the people, saying that, look, to go to the court, we cannot give guarantee that it is 100% winning chance, but at least we know that we have hope in the court that the court will do justice. So we will take up your case. We will go to the court and then fight for your right. Win or lose, we don't know, but we will fight for justice. And unless we go to the court, we cannot expect arbitration to favor us. And arbitration has nothing to do with the compensation issue. So we will go to the court. So the people, aggrieved community, they were at peace. Then they said, okay, whether win or lose, if the CPO can take up our case to the court, then we will not create any obstruction. We will give NOC. So from there, the victim, the village authority, they gave no objection certificate to the present company. So now the work has started. So this has compelled CPO to go to the court on behalf of the poor and marginalized villagers and farmers who cannot afford to go to the court, who have no sense of going to the court, and they think that by blocking the road they can only assert their right. But that is not, that is a very old-fashioned, or that is not applicable in today's world. So CPO, why did CPO take up the PIL case? It is because we want to see that justice is done to these victimized people for the last 10 years. Secondly, we want to ensure that no obstruction should be created to stop this road for the second time. If we block this two land road second time, third time we will never get, and we may not get in our lifetime. So we must have a road. That is one reason. Second is we must see that the victims are compensated. And then thousands of people, see, there, Chagasan Angami people, especially, our asset, our valuable asset is only our terrace cultivation. Now, this terrace cultivation has been permanently destroyed. Some portion it is just marked, so somehow they could. But a huge portion of the land is filled with rocks, trees, and all kind of hard materials that they can never recover their terrace field. So thousands of people were displaced. Some of them, many of them, they have migrated even to other village or to town. Many children's education had to be abandoned. And then on the highway for the last 9-10 years, many accidents, many people died. And then during monsoon, even if the villagers, they were bringing patients to Kohima, because of roadblock, they could not pass through and then they died on the spot. That kind of thing. And all this were happening right under the nose and watch silence of the state government and central government. Now, during High Court time case, the Guwahati High Court appointed a judicial commission. And then the commission, they personally came and verified. They traveled all around the road and they submitted their report to High Court. Then when the case went up to Supreme Court again, Supreme Court sent a judicial commission, inspection commission. They came, we met them here in Jaffa, few of us, and we had a hard time. That time somebody representing the ministry also came and then they wanted to cancel this project. We said it cannot be done. And that night our former speaker lawyer really fired. And then finally the ministry people could not say anything. Then the Supreme Court judges, commission member, they went, they saw, they reported to the court, and then the Chief Justice sympathizes, and that was how the work was revived. So just because this issue has come up recently, it is not that the CPO is involving momentarily. CPO was involved from the day one when the road was being pursued in central government. Our only mistake was during Maytas time, we were not vigilant enough. We did not check. And because of that, we regret. But then today, we are sensitized. We have been educated with the damage caused, with the suffering of the people. So we feel that CPO should own the responsibility. And then CPO in a Executive Council, the biggest decision-making body, they decided that we will pursue this matter. So on that basis, we have filed the PIL. So here in the PIL, we are 4 petitioners. The first is the CPO president representing CPO. Then the second petitioner is me as the convener of the committee. The third petitioner is my colleague Besupra. The fourth is Z Lohe. So 3 of us along with CPO, we have filed the PIL. It was registered on 13th December 2018 and listed for moving the case on 16 January. And that day itself, the state government advocate, they also came and they were so defensive. They said that since it is under arbitration, why go to the court? Why go to High Court? Because it is per Supreme Court direction that arbitration was brought into being. So why go to the court? That was the argument made. But then our advocate, who is very closely associated with, especially with the Nagas and the Chagasan, Angshuman Sarma, I have mentioned his name here. He defended our case so strongly that even the justice, he said that yes, this is a fit case. So instantly, the first day the petition was moved, it was admitted as a fit case. And we are happy to the High Court for having admitted. Now, show cause notice is served to all the respondents. There are about 7-8 respondents. Show cause is notice to them to reply within 6 weeks time, and 27 February is listed for first hearing. So this is the small background that I just want to explain to you, and if you have substantiate my colleagues will also participate.
Sir, that's including of all the
Nagaland, yes.
the entire Nagaland.
Yeah. So the CPO represents all the victims of the Nagaland state.
That is one question which is determiner. So our